Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive biological mystery that's happening all around us, literally right out in the open. We are going to explore the Great Plant Shrink Experiment, and I promise you, it's going to fundamentally change the way you look at the natural world. Whether you're hiking through a dense forest or, just staring at that houseplant on your windowsill, you'll never see them the same way again. At the core of this whole mystery is a surprisingly simple question. How on earth does water get all the way up to the leaves of a giant oak tree? I mean, really, think about the sheer scale of that for a second. You look outside at a huge oak, and its branches are reaching way, way up high into the sky. We're talking 50, 60, maybe even 100 feet in the air. And obviously, trees don't have water buckets to hoist things up. They certainly don't have electric pumps humming away inside their trunks, and they definitely don't have giant, bendy plastic straws buried in the soil. So without any moving mechanical parts whatsoever, how exactly do these massive living structures manage to take a drink and push all that heavy liquid all the way up to their highest leaves? Well, to figure this out, we aren't just going to sit here and stare at boring textbook diagrams. No way. We're going to set up a hands-on observation trick that will actually let us watch a plant change color right before our very eyes. By doing this, we're going to expose the hidden plumbing system of a plant in real time. It's a remarkably straightforward trick, but it is highly revealing, allowing us to visualize a complex process that is normally entirely invisible to us. But before any great scientific discovery, we got to gather the right tools. To set up our own observation lab, we really just need a few basic things you could probably find in your kitchen right now. First up, clear cups or glass jars. The source material really emphasizes using clear jars here, because science is all about observation, right? If we can't easily see through the container, we're going to miss the magic happening inside. Next, we need some bold food coloring, specifically a deep ocean blue, a fiery red, and a sunny yellow, so we can track the movement of the water super clearly. And finally, the stars of our show. Fresh, crisp celery stalks, making sure they still have those green leaves attached at the very top. Okay, getting the environment set up is super simple. We start by filling 4 clear jars halfway with just ordinary room temperature water. Using room temp is actually a really good practice here because it provides a nice, steady, neutral environment for the plants. Then we add a few generous drops of our brilliant blue food dye to the first jar, the fiery red to the second, and the sunny yellow to the third. Give each one a gentle stir until the water is completely vibrant. We want these colors to be intense, like deep blue, rich red, bright yellow, so the path of the water will be absolutely unmistakable. But wait, notice that fourth jar. We've got our 3 highly colorful setups, but we deliberately leave that fourth jar completely clear, with just plain water. Why? Because this highlights a vital rule of scientific observation. You must always have a control group. Having a normal, clear baseline is absolutely essential, so we actually have something to compare our final results against. Without a normal baseline sitting right next to our test subjects, we wouldn't be able to definitively prove that our colored water changed the plant. The plant could have just naturally changed on its own over time. So always test your ideas alongside a control. All right, before we just toss our crisp celery stalks into these jars, we have to prep them. Our source gives us a really helpful tip here, noting that trimming the bottom of the celery stalk is, quote, like opening up a brand new straw. Think about it. The bottom of a celery stalk that's been cut for a while looks a little dry, kind of calloused, right? It acts almost like a scab over a cut to protect the plant. If we don't trim a tiny slice off that bottom, the water just won't be able to get inside easily. We gotta snip it to give our celery a fresh, wide-open pathway. With everything prepped, it's time for the final setup. We place 1 freshly trimmed celery stalk into each of our colored jars, the blue, the red, and the yellow. Then we drop our final stalk into the clear control jar. And now, we wait. As the source reminds us, biological observation doesn't usually happen in a single second. It takes a little time and a bit of patience for the plant to naturally draw in the fluid before we can see the real results of our setup. So while we wait for the celery to sit and take a drink, let's shrink down and dive into the microscopic world to uncover the mechanics operating inside the plant stem at this very moment. It's often referred to as a kind of secret superpower in plant biology, simply because it happens entirely out of sight, yet it accomplishes some incredibly heavy lifting. If you've ever snapped a celery stalk open, you've probably noticed those little stringy lines running all the way from the bottom to the top. Well, those structures are called xylem, pronounced xylem. They are essentially microscopic, hollow, bendy straws built right into the architecture of the plant itself. Their entire job is to serve as a biological plumbing system, carrying water from the roots all the way up to the leaves and flowers. And remarkably, they manage to do this completely against the downward pull of gravity. Now, how do they defy gravity? They do it through a fascinating physical process called capillary action. This is the incredible ability of water molecules to stick to each other and, more importantly, to stick to the sides of narrow tubes. You can picture the water molecules essentially holding hands and clinging to the walls, climbing up the tiny xylem tubes, almost like a team of microscopic mountain climbers, just pulling each other upward, step by step, inch by inch. And this all works together in a brilliant, continuous chain reaction. Step 1, the plant's roots suck up water from the soil. Step 2, those microscopic xylem tubes carry that water upward through that capillary action we just talked about. And step 3, this is the really wild part. Tiny holes in the leaves, known as stomata, allow water to evaporate out into the air. As the water evaporates out of the top leaves, it actually creates a negative pressure that pulls more water up from behind it. It maintains this continuous upward chain reaction of liquid flowing right through the whole plant. All right, we've waited long enough for this process to do its thing. Let's fast forward the clock and get to the big, colorful reveal. Looking at our jars, our celery stalks appear visibly transformed compared to our plain old clear control jar. By observing them closely, we can actually see how the vibrant colors from the water have bled all the way up the edges of the stems, literally painting the exact pathways the water took. Seriously, take a close look at the blue stalk. Notice the leaves at the very top. They aren't green anymore. Because the blue water traveled all the way up through those tiny xylem straws, it eventually pooled right in the leaves at the very peak. As the source beautifully describes it, the celery is now wearing a bright blue crown. It proves our capillary action theory right before our very eyes, visually tracking the water's epic journey from the base all the way to the highest point. But I gotta say, the red celery stalk offers the ultimate visual payoff for this experiment. As the source describes, the veins inside the stalk are glowing like neon red highways. It is absolute, undeniable proof that plants really do drink water just like living, breathing plumbing systems. The red dye maps the exact route the water took against gravity, highlighting those xylem tubes in striking, vivid detail against the green stalk. Think about how incredible this observation really is. We've proven that capillary action is real, highly effective, and entirely invisible under normal circumstances. Which brings us right back to our giant oak tree from the beginning of this explainer. Every single tree, every flower, and every single blade of grass outside is using this exact same mechanism right now to quietly pull hundreds of gallons of water straight up into the sky. It leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. If plants are secretly functioning like massive, silent, living plumbing systems right in our own backyards, what other incredible natural secrets are just hiding in plain sight?